Okay, so you couldn't help yourself. You went out and you bought one of these Chinese radiators off Amazon or eBay or wherever, and there ain't no way that sucker's gonna line up and fit. Well, let's see what we can do about it, okay? Okay, so you got your aluminum radiator. Now you got to make it work, right? So when it comes to these guys, it seems like there's two different versions of them. There's the one that I chose that has this welded together 45, or there's one that's got more of a sweeping 90 that it puts you more back in line with the actual radiator, and that doesn't seem like that's going to work at all. So when I was looking at these guys, I specifically wanted this welded together 45, and it wasn't because it was going to line up, because we all know that these things never ever really line up, right? I wanted that weld joint right there. I wanted that bead, because the plan is I'm going to cut off the rest of that bung, and now that weld bead is going to turn into the new lip for the hose to clamp and hold up against. You know what I mean? So with that in mind, I went ahead, I got my general angles that I thought that I needed, and I went over to the auto parts store. And they always end up having a wall of random radiator hoses, okay? And it doesn't matter what it's for, as long as it fits, that's all that counts. So I went in there with my my piece of welding rod that I bent into the angle roughly that I needed, and found this guy. And this gave me a couple different options, okay? So I have a nice 45. I've got, this isn't really a 90 because it's actually opened a little bit, but this one is a bigger radius. I've got one down here that's a tighter radius, okay? And so originally I wanted this angle, but this one needs to be a little tighter. The trouble is, when you go to bend that, it's going to end up causing the pipe to go ahead and kink, right? So we're stuck with our 90s, or roughly our 90s. But the nice thing is, you can open the angle and it's perfectly fine. So if I take this, knowing that I'm going to cut off part of that, line it up, and then just open that angle a little bit, both of these guys seem like it's doable, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move the camera up here more of like a bird's eye view. So then you get a better idea what at least I'm working on my version that China sent me, and go ahead and make the thing happen. All right, so go ahead and try and cover what we can. We don't bump into anything. Then I'm going to take a piece of paper towel and just stuff it in there to keep anything from falling inside the radiator. I don't really care if I cut the paper towel, but it'll keep it to where nothing's going to happen. Now, typically what I like to do is, if I can do something by hand, I'll start by hand. And if it just isn't going to work, I'm just going to use a hacksaw here. If it's not going to work, I can always get a chop saw and do that. But I'd rather have a little bit more control and pay attention to what I'm doing, because I can always come back and clean this off if I need to. So let's get us right in line with the bead. Let's get down a little bit lower. Okay, well, I can see where it where the weld was. You can see that white flash there. Now it's perfect. That is perfect. All right, hang tight for a second. Okay, so now before we forget about it, get that guy out of there. That out of there. See what we're left with. Okay. So that being there, which one's going to line up the best? Because see there's that angle. I think you can see that. This part is longer than that part because of that 45, right? So that's going to actually support this part when we stretch it, but leave that sort of open for us. So we can get way up into this 90 if we need to. All right, let's find something to cut it with. Okay, so let's start right there. Now they do say that you can get one of those, like the accordion style upper hoses off of an MG. But the way this thing, the different directions that this has to go, it just seems like that accordion one's going to be like all over the place. Yeah, I don't have the right bolts on there. So if this comes on down, let's see, that can get us, we would have to be right about there. And where is that in relation to that bend? That's on that bend. Well, let's try it. Double check real quick. All I'm doing right now is I'm sort of eyeballing these bolts, because if I have this down here and I'm laying on top, it's bringing it up a lot higher. So I'm just trying to get it sort of line up and give ourselves a little extra. That's right where the edge of that is. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of wiggle room. Come on. All right, so now okay, let's go ahead. Those guys in there a little bit. I don't want to like bury the head into the aluminum, but we can get it snugged down so we can actually take a better look and see how this guy fits. Yeah, that one's not going to go all the way. That's okay. There's the end of it right there. They don't really give you a whole lot on that thermostat housing, do they? All right, well, let's see what you guys can see. All right, so here's that 90 that I was talking about where I opened it up Let's get you zoomed out a little bit. So I open that up a little bit so that now you can see it's in a nice line. Nothing stressed or bent. I could have cut this a little straighter, but I can always go ahead and fix that when I'm tightening that up with the clamp. But overall, that looks nice and clean, right? Cleaner than my garage anyway. So see, now this, I can feel that the bead right there. So as long as I clamp it right there, it's no different. Where'd the piece go? It's no different than that being there. You know what I mean? I'll take that as a win. Okay, let's wrap this guy up. As you saw, everything went surprisingly quick and easy. And that really never happens on these cars, or probably any kind of car. There's plenty of clearance for the stock fan. There's all kinds of room for the belt. Lifting eye is still there. Nice smooth transition. Everything's great. If I would have butched it up, I got the other half left over that would have lined up just the same. Maybe better. I don't know. Might have to give it a try. Let me show you. This is from Dayco. There's the number for it. Okay. So if you don't want to use one of those like accordion kind of hoses off of an MG, I don't like the look of them. But this worked fantastic. Okay. So if you're on the fence about getting one of these radiators, as long as you get the one that's got the welded 45, you're good. You're able to do this. If you had the one that has the curve on it, I mean, you could probably go ahead and flare out, like cut it to the angle you need and go ahead and flare out the end just to hold the hose, because all you really need is something to keep that clamp from just popping right off. So you could probably get around with that too. This, I just saw this as an easier opportunity to go ahead and have something already there. And it works wonderfully. So hope this helped you guys. See you next time.